I will never forget the sound of the deadbolt turning on my front door, the lock I had installed only 2 weeks earlier. It clicked once, twice, then slowly rotated, like someone was trying to be careful, all quiet. From the hallway, I could see the handle pressed down. The door eased open, and there she was, Cheryl Davenport, president of the Cedar Ridge Meadows Homeowners Association. Cheryl froze the instant she realized she wasn't alone. Her eyes jumped from me to the 2 uniformed police officers sitting comfortably on my couch, coffee mugs halfway to their lips. Her mouth opened, but no word came out. The key ring slipped from her hand and clattered on the entryway tile. One of the officers, Officer Grant, glanced at his watch and said calmly, "Right on time." If you'd told me a month earlier that my quiet life in the suburbs would end with the HOA president being arrested in my living room, I'd have laughed. My name's Michael Harris, and I had just moved into my home after retiring from a logistics job I'd worked for 30-plus years. The house was nothing fancy, single-story, white siding, small maple tree out front, a place meant for peace and slow mornings. That peace lasted exactly 4 days. On day 4, Cheryl showed up on my porch like a drill sergeant inspecting barracks. Perfect posture, rigid blazer, clipboard in hand. She didn't say hello, didn't smile, just launched straight in. "Mr. Harris, your garbage can is not placed at an appropriate 60-degree alignment to the curb, and your front hedge exceeds regulation height by nearly half an inch." I thought she was joking. She wasn't. From that day on, Cheryl treated my property like her personal battlefield. She paced the sidewalk with a measuring tape. She left printed warnings for microscopic offenses, a slightly crooked house number, a porch light that wasn't community-standard warm white. She once complained that my garden chairs looked rebelliously casual. At first I tried being patient. Then it turned weird. She began parking across from my house for hours, pointing a long-lens camera at my yard. She stared through my windows under the excuse of visual inspection. She even scolded me for feeding the neighborhood squirrels, an authorized wildlife support, she called it. The woman loved rules the way kids love candy. I installed security cameras partly for safety, partly because my instincts told me Cheryl wasn't done escalating. And I was right. Things started moving around my yard. My trash cans, my gate left open, my doormat turned sideways. Nothing was stolen, but someone wanted me to know they'd been there, so I called the local police station. Officer Grant came out, reviewed my footage, and frowned with recognition when he saw a figure in a stiff blazer prowling near my fence. "We'd had complaints," he said carefully. "Master keys are for genuine emergencies. Not this. If anything else happens, call me. Master keys." I repeated. I had a very bad feeling. The next morning, I watched from my kitchen as Cheryl marched up the street with that same clipboard tucked under her arm. She stopped in front of my door and pressed an ear to the wood. Then she lifted a key ring. That decided it. I changed the locks, but I also formed a plan with the officers. If Cheryl truly believed she had the right to enter, she wasn't going to stop. So we arranged to wait. For 3 mornings straight, I pretended to leave for errands. I drove around the block, parked behind a strip mall, slipped through the back alley, and let myself in quietly. On the 4th morning, Officers Grant and Nguyen arrived at 8:15 a.m. We brewed coffee. We waited. At 8:42, the doorknob turned. The way Cheryl's confidence evaporated in that doorway would have been funny if it hadn't been so disturbing. She had come prepared to measure curtain length, measuring tape still dangling from her pocket, but instead found 2 police officers and the man whose house she had just illegally entered. Her face cycled through shock, anger, disbelief, then panic. "Mrs. Davenport," Officer Nguyen said gently, standing, "you are under arrest for criminal trespass and unlawful entry." Cheryl sputtered. "This is an emergency inspection. I have authority. It's in the bylaws." He replied, "Neighborhood rules don't override state law." Her legs went weak. They guided her to a chair as she rambled about maintaining standards and protecting property values. When they cuffed her, she finally seemed to realize none of this was a misunderstanding. Word spread through the neighborhood faster than wildfire. People I barely met stopped by to thank me. Turns out, Cheryl had been using that master key like a toddler uses crayons. Everywhere. All the time. No boundaries. She'd checked interior paint colors. She'd confirmed furniture legality. One elderly neighbor, Edith Walker, brought me homemade banana bread and whispered, "I've waited 10 years to see someone stand up to her." The next HOA meeting was packed. Without Cheryl there, folks felt brave enough to speak. And no, did they speak. Testimony poured out about intimidation, gossip, fines over nonsense like flower pot color or mailbox font. The rest of the board, who had once been quietly complicit, suddenly discovered backbones. They voted Cheryl out unanimously and removed the master key from individual control. 2 months later, Cheryl's court date arrived. I stood before the judge and explained everything: the cameras, the harassment, the illegal entry. Other neighbors shared their stories. Cheryl's lawyer tried to argue she believed she had the right, but the judge was unmoved. "Mrs. Davenport," she said firmly, "a homeowner association grants administrative authority, not unchecked power over private citizens. You violated trust and the law." Cheryl was sentenced to probation, community service, fines, and banned from HOA participation for life. When the ruling landed, she turned to me with watery eyes and whispered, "I was only trying to keep the neighborhood perfect." I didn't say anything, because here's what I'd learned. Perfection isn't control. Community isn't fair. And a neighborhood is not a kingdom, no matter how shiny the president badge is. Life in Cedar Ridge Meadows slowly returned to normal. I still drink my morning coffee on the porch. The maple still drops leaves on my too-tall hedge. Edith still waves every time she walks a little terrier past my driveway. And sometimes, when the breeze is quiet and the sun is low, I hear the soft mechanical memory of a deadbolt turning, and I remember the day I learned that even in the calmest suburbs, power has a way of testing people. But it also has a way of being stopped. Thank you for watching Classic Stories. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more stories that remind us how powerful compassion truly is.